Hey, so we have come to our second section where we will now analyze in more detail all this system development lifecycle that we introduced yesterday. So during yesterday's session, we focused on understanding which type of methodologies are out there and how they work. Also, we have seen history behind them and how these have now evolved over the years. So in today's session, we're going to analyze what are the differences between a high weight and the lightweight methodology. So what we're going to look at today is what are the weaknesses and strengths for both of them, and we're going to explain them as we can see, where heavyweight methodologies are mainly known as traditional and conventional way of software development, while with the lightweight, we're now entering into a new era, so which is a bit more modern way of developing softwares through many methodologies, and the most important is the agile, which is simply going to emphasize how working with software as the primary measures in order to achieve the success of a project. So with agile, is now companies are now able to track this project, and they're able to allocate roles and responsibilities to each member of the team. So with the lightweight methodologies, we now have a little written documentation where everything will now show how this has been conducted within all the iterations. Here we have a comparison analysis, which shows us the differences between high weight and lightweight, where also where we've seen in our video yesterday, we explained the major differences between lightweight methodologies and how you can compare them depending on the type of project that you're going to be working on. This comparison is just going to show us how heavyweight and lightweight are compared between each other. So as you can see, the budget when it comes to high weight will be very expensive, where you now require more softwares and more product when it comes to the realization of the software. Also, the team size will now include a large amount of members within developers, testers, and UX designers. While with the lightweight, we will now focus on utilizing small teams in order for us to deploy software as fast as possible. Then there are also project criticality, where when it comes to analyze and understand the strengths and weaknesses when it comes to a heavyweight, this will require a lot of criteria, which will now be critically evaluated with the pros and cons, while with the lightweight, this will be very concise and will take less of our team's time. Also, there are various other comparisons, such as the documentation, where with a heavyweight, we're just going to look at explicit knowledge is required, while with the lightweight, this is simply going to be done through a face-to-face communication, if it's possible. So you now require less and less effort from the team. Training, when it comes to heavy training, is now required as the software is delivered once it is totally ready. while with the lightweight, as the development team and the customer are interacting with each other, less training will be required. Also, we have to take consideration of best practice and the tools and techniques. So with the heavyweight, we will now have a traditional tools and techniques such as waterfall model, which was used in the past. While with the lightweight, where we're now going to work with agile methodology, we now have a new and versatile techniques such as extreme programming and Scrum management. Okay, when it comes to heavyweight methodology, we've explained how waterfall is the model, which is in a sequential development approach, and where our development, it seems as following steadily downwards, basically as like a waterfall. So once a iteration is completed, this cannot be reversed. It can be, but it will now require a lot of effort and a lot of time from our team. So it is not really a scalable model. So it is not really easy to amend. And as we all know, we can see there is a requirement analysis, software design, implementation, where we have our coding, testing, integration of other platforms, and deployment. Also, as we know, waterfall was the first formal methodology, which was published by Winston Royce in the 1970s through them. So where we can see, although Royce did not use the term waterfall in the article, he basically explained that the project has to be divided into sequential phases with some overlap and splashback acceptable between phases. So as we can see, this will now emphasize on the planning, time scheduling, deadlines, budget, and implementation. So this will now have a tight control, will be really tight control and maintained over the lifetime of the project via the extension written documentation. So everything has to be documented in order for them to know what they've done, what they've achieved, and how they're going to be moving forward. And this waterfall model is a traditional engineering approach, which is also applied for the software engineering. Another system life cycle is rapid unified process, which it basically based on UML, which is a markup language, and where we are able to make sketches. So with this rational unified process, this will now organize the development of software into 4 phases. So each consisting of one or more executable iteration. So what is an iteration? An iteration is simply a stage. So where this project business can be stated, and the team will now decide if the project is worth doing, or it is, or if it isn't, if it is possible. You can see how the feasibility studies will be now conducted. Elaboration, where in this stage, the developers will now take a closer look at the project, and they can now establish a architecture and a structure which they will now follow for the realization of the software. And as we all know, this is very important because it is where it is here where the developers will now analyze the risks which are associated with any sort of changes or amendment that has to be done to the software. Then we have construction, where it's simply going to be having the coding part, where our developers are now going to implement the code. And now there will be also software testers who are going to test and validate our software. Then you have transition, which is the final stage, and is the fine-tuning of is performed. And in here, any final adjustment can be based on the user feedback. Spiral model, it's simply the combination between waterfall and rapid unified development. So with this prototype methodology, it is an effort that will now combine the advantage of top-down and bottom-up concepts. And you now emphasizing the key area with many thought have been neglected by other methodologies. So what does the spiral model do? This will now focus on risk assessment and on minimizing the project risk by breaking a project into smaller segments and providing more ease of change during this process. So what do? You now simply going to look into the risks that comes to implementing new code to the project. Now we're going to look into lightweight methodologies. As we all know, Agile is the most common lightweight methodology. And this will now refer to a group of software development, the methodologies that are based in iterative development, where the requirements and solution will now evolve through the collaboration between self-organization and cross-functional teams. So some of these methods are Scrum, extreme programming, adaptive software development, and dynamic system development methodologies. So during our previous session, we looked into an analysis of, we looked into a comparison between Scrum and extreme programming and how these two correlate to each other. So one second, let me just go back. So as we can see, Scrum is an agile software development model. And what it does is based on multiple small teams working in intensive and in independent manners. So what can we see? In that Scrum, in 100 words, means that it's an agile process that allow to focus on delivering the highest business value in the shortest time. This allows to rapidly and repeatedly inspect actual working software every 3 weeks to 1 month. So the business will now set the priorities. So now we can look into a Scrum framework where we always have a product owner, a Scrum master, and a team of developers. So this has been explained, where we now have ceremonies, sprint planning, sprint review, sprint retrospective, and daily Scrum meetings. And the artifacts, we now have a product backlog, sprint backlog, and burn down charts. Extreme programming, on the other hand, is a software development methodology which is intended to improve software quality and responsiveness to changing due to the customer requirements. So with an extreme programming, we will consider more the client thoughts and the client requests in order for us to deploy the software as fast as possible. So here we have an evaluation of the criteria for the methodologies. So when it comes to evaluate them, we need to break down into the usability of the method, understandability, documentation, buildability, installation ability, learn ability, sustainability, maintainability, and testability. So now we will look into a short video, which will now explain agile methodology in very few minutes.
You're good at your job, but your processes, though. With Money.com.
Alex has just completed his graduation from Stanford University. One fine day, he receives a mail from Star Trek Technologies for an interview for the designation of a software engineer, as referred by the university. Alex was really happy and excited about this, and starts preparing for his interview next week. While he was preparing, Alex came across the term downtime. Alex has no idea. What is a downtime? He decided to seek help from his uncle John, a software engineer. John explained that downtime is a specific time frame allocated to deploy or update changes for a software product in a real-time environment. And this happens because most of the softwares we use today are developed using the waterfall model. For example, Cisco, one of the popular leaders in IT and networking globally, is using agile methodology for their subscription billing platform, SBP, as it was originally developed using the waterfall model. After adopting the agile methodology, Cisco's product improved its overall efficiency, where defects were reduced by 40% compared to the previous releases, and defect removal efficiency increased by 14%. Upon explaining what downtime is, John further added that downtime is a small part of the waterfall model. It is the traditional way of developing softwares using a software development lifecycle, where the whole product is treated as one single unit, and the development of one phase starts only after the completion of the previous phase. Adding new features or updating the existing feature in a waterfall model-based product needs a specific time frame known as downtime to avoid disturbance in the workflow of an organization, where applying changes in a waterfall-based product might produce irrelevant results or product failure. The waterfall model is the earliest or the traditional model used for software development, where the output of one phase acts as the input for the preceding phase, consisting of a series of steps, where each phase has specific deliverables that act as the input for the next phase, as it avoids overlapping of phases, as these phases are dependent on each other. This method is simple and easy to understand, where prerequisites are pre-known, documented earlier, and technology remains static, where there is no need for ambiguous requirements due to the delay in software delivery. In contrast, the final version is available only after completing the entire software lifecycle process, with any deviations if available. Changes in the waterfall model contain high risk, as changes include a new, revised version of the entire software running the entire series of steps again and again. For example, a tap and pay machine, where the machine first validates whether the customer's account is funded with sufficient funds or not, and then initiates the transaction for money transfer. Unless the validation is processed, the transaction cannot be initiated. Alex was curious and asked Uncle John, is there any way to overcome the drawbacks of the waterfall model? John replies, yes. Agile methodology was introduced to overcome the problems faced in the waterfall model, where agile-based products are developed by breaking the entire product process into microservices or phases, which is faster to execute and deploy changes on the go. There is no need to worry about other or previous tasks while working on one particular phase, avoiding product failure. Agile-based products don't require any particular time frame, downtime, to deploy changes, unlike the waterfall model, where the whole product is treated as one single unit, and each process is dependent on the preceding processes, where deploying changes leads to downtime. How agile products are developed? Agile-based products are developed using the Agile lifecycle. At first, the developed product is implemented in an actual working environment for reviews from clients and stakeholders to check its deliverables and functionality. After client reviews, the official product is launched in a real-time working environment, where Agile methodology focuses on satisfying the consumer needs by efficiently utilizing the resources and avoiding additional risks or deviations in the product. For example, providing a trial beta version of the software for the end user to experience the software towards its deliverables and results will be helpful in refining and reviewing the product like Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, etc. After understanding all about Agile methodology, Alex asks Uncle John, are companies implementing Agile in their workspace nowadays? John replies, yes. Companies are moving towards Agile methodology due to its flexibility and advantages over traditional systems. By adopting Agile for their Sony Interactive environment, Sony noticed a major difference where there was a reduced planning time by 28% with their framework, and downtime was reduced to the maximum, which made the company save $30 million a year. So here's a question for you. What makes Agile different from waterfall model? A. It is dependent on microservices. B. Agile consumes more time. C. The process is broken down into several phases. D. None of the above. Please give it a thought and post your answers in the comments section below. 3 lucky winners will receive Amazon gift vouchers. Agile methodology aims to meet the consumer's requirements to the maximum in deploying changes in a rapidly developing environment, where Agile Manifesto Principles brings an innovative set of rules and protocols to help developers overcome the challenges faced in the traditional practices, waterfall model, making Agile flexible and efficient. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, a thumbs up would be really appreciated. Here's your reminder to subscribe to our channel and click on the bell icon for more on the latest technologies and trends. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more from Simply Learn.